Ever noticed how the happiest people seem to be those who care the least about what others think? It's no coincidence. There's a paradoxical truth that few discover. The moment you stop caring is exactly when you start winning. We're not talking about complete indifference, but that precise point where you break free from the invisible chains of others' approval. Today, we'll explore how this detachment might be your greatest source of power. Think about how many decisions you made today based on what others might think. That outfit you didn't wear, that opinion you kept to yourself, that dream you postponed because someone said it was unrealistic. We live trapped in an invisible cage, built not of iron bars, but of others' expectations. The ancient Stoics understood this dynamic over 2,000 years ago. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of ancient Rome's greatest philosophers, taught, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them." He realized our anguish rarely comes from situations themselves, but from the value we place on others' judgments about these situations. Imagine you're at a party. You accidentally spill a drink on your clothes. If you were alone at home, this would be a minor inconvenience. You'd change clothes and get on with your day. But in public, this same event can transform into a source of shame and anxiety. Why? The stain hasn't changed. What changed was the social context and the weight you give to others' opinions. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "You will find peace when you no longer care what others say or think about you." He ruled the world's largest empire, yet understood his true power came from within, not from external approval. Even at the height of power, he recognized the futility of living to please others. There's a story about Diogenes, the cynic philosopher who lived in a barrel. When Alexander the Great, the most powerful man in the world at the time, visited and asked if he could do anything for him, Diogenes simply replied, "Yes, stand out of my sunlight." Imagine the freedom required to speak like that to an emperor. Diogenes didn't care about status or approval, and that was his true wealth. In the East, Lao Tzu observed, "When you are concerned with what others think of you, you become their prisoner." The Taoist tradition understands we become slaves when we allow our value to be determined externally. It's like handing over the keys to your happiness to strangers who don't even know your complete story. But understand, stopping caring doesn't mean becoming insensitive or arrogant. It's not about completely ignoring others or acting without consideration. It's about recalibrating your internal compass so it points to true north, your own values and purposes, instead of spinning frantically trying to please every wind of public opinion. Seneca, another great Stoic, warned, "We live not according to reason, but according to imitation." How many of our choices are truly our own? How many are merely reflections of what we think we should want, based on what we see others desiring? True detachment begins when we question these automatic assumptions. But there's something deeper here. When we stop caring excessively about external opinions, we don't just free ourselves. We also become paradoxically more authentic and magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who don't desperately need their approval. It's another paradox. The less you chase acceptance, the more it tends to come to you. Here's the twist few realize. The moment you stop caring isn't just liberating, it's transformative. Because when you stop investing energy in worries about others' judgment, that same energy becomes available for something far more powerful, your own evolution. The opinion of others about you need not become your reality, wrote Marcus Aurelius. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you allowed someone's casual comment to transform into an absolute truth about who you are? That childhood criticism from a teacher that still echoes in your mind. That rejection you interpreted as definitive proof of your inadequacy. That unfair comparison that became your measure of worth. What if all of this was just noise? What if true wisdom lies in recognizing that no one, absolutely no one, has a complete view of who you are or what you're capable of? Epictetus challenges us with a disturbing question. How can anyone prevail over you when you're not willing to be defeated? When we allow others' opinions to determine our value, we're essentially surrendering our power. We're saying, "You decide if I'm enough." What an extraordinary abdication of autonomy. There's a story about a Zen master who carried a wooden Buddha statue. During a particularly cold night, he broke the statue and used it as firewood to keep warm. His disciples were horrified. "How could you burn the Buddha?" The master replied, "It wasn't Buddha, it was just wood. And I needed the warmth more than the image." Similarly, perhaps we need our authenticity more than the images we create to please others. Seneca observed, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of the anxiety we feel about others' judgment exists only in our minds. We create elaborate scenarios of rejection and humiliation that rarely materialize. And even when judgment actually occurs, how long does it last? How much time does someone really spend thinking about your mistakes or failures? The truth is that most people are too busy worrying about their own performance to spend more than a few moments judging yours. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Judgment may occur, but your decision to carry that judgment as a burden is exactly that, a decision. And here's the deepest revelation. When you stop caring about external judgment, you don't just free yourself, you become unstoppable. Because most of the barriers preventing people from pursuing their dreams aren't external, but internal. The fear of failure, rejection, ridicule. When these fears lose their power over you, what remains is pure possibility. So, how do we cultivate this liberating detachment? Start small. The next time you feel that familiar contraction of anxiety before expressing an opinion or making a decision, ask yourself, am I doing this for me or for others' approval? Just this awareness is already a powerful step. Practice what the Stoics called negative visualization. Imagine the scenario you fear. People laughing, criticizing, rejecting. And then ask, so what? The sun will still rise tomorrow. My intrinsic value remains intact. As Epictetus reminds us, it is impossible for a person to begin to learn what they think they already know. Perhaps it's time to unlearn the need for constant approval. Remember also that detachment isn't achieved once and for all. It's a daily practice. There will be days when someone's opinion still affects you deeply. Don't criticize yourself for this. Observe that reaction with curiosity, not judgment. Interesting how I still care about this, you might think. This self-kindness is an essential part of the process. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very soon you will have forgotten everything. Very soon everything will have forgotten you." There's something strangely liberating about this perspective. 100 years from now, who will remember that embarrassing presentation, that awkward comment, that criticized decision? Life is too short to live it in the prison of others' opinions. Try, for one day, making every decision based solely on your deepest values, completely ignoring what others might think. Wear that eccentric outfit you love. Express that unpopular but sincere opinion. Pursue that unrealistic dream. Notice how you feel, not just afterward, but during. There's a different vibration, a sense of alignment when we act from our inner truth. As Lao Tzu teaches us, when you are at peace with yourself, you are at peace with the world. The final paradox is that by stopping the pursuit of external approval, you often find something far more valuable, authentic respect, both for yourself and from others who value your authenticity. The moment you stop caring is the moment you truly begin to live. It's not about indifference, it's about freedom. It's not about isolation, it's about authenticity. And yes, it's about winning, not over others, but over the invisible chains that have limited your potential. If this video resonated with you, consider subscribing to the Seek Wisdom channel for more reflections that challenge our assumptions and expand our possibilities. Together, we can rediscover ancient wisdoms that remain surprisingly relevant in our modern world. And you, have you experienced this moment of liberation? When was the last time you felt the lightness of simply not caring about others' judgment? Share your experience in the comments below.